Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Stacy from Vintage Art and Craft, and I am here tonight to show you, how to create a few cards using the Creative Memories Shark Border Punch. So we're going to take a look at creating these two cards start to finish, and we're also going to take a look at how we can use the punch to create some backgrounds, to create some alternative type cards. So we're going to use the punch, of course, and just a side note here too, you are able to use the punches, a different punch perhaps, for similar techniques. A word of caution though, this punch, whenever you run the paper through, it cuts both sides. It creates a nice border with a decorative edge on both sides. Some of the other punches only cut on one edge. So if you're looking to do something like this, there just might be a few additional steps if you're using a different punch. Either way, reach out with questions and I'm happy to help. Alright, so we're going to create these two cards with the option. I'm going to show you how to do a technique similar to this one on for a different size card. I am using a different stamp set. This is a Unity stamp set, Fantastic, Just Keep Swimming. It is called Fishy Philosophy, and it's just a stamp set that I have in my stash. You can create whatever or use whatever greeting you would like on the front of the card, typing it up on computer, printing it out, using letter stickers. Maybe you have a sticker that works as a greeting. All of those are fine. So please don't get stuck on just using these particular greetings. Feel free to substitute. I'm going to show you how to do that with just some basic greetings also later on. The other thing that I'm using is the blending brush and the Memento ink from the Creative Memories Advisor box 1, vote box 1. This was part of that kit and we're going to make use of it to create this set. So I am also using shimmer paper, Creative Memories Gemtones Blue, think it is, and then the white shimmer to add a little extra touch to kind of give the sharks that shiny, watery feel. Alright, so enough talking, let's get started. We're going to talk about Fantastic first, and for this card we use a standard A2 card base, and I've cut from the light blue, Creative Memories light blue cardstock, I've cut a 4 by 5 1/4 inch foundation mat. I have just a thank you stamp greeting here that we're going to use instead of Fantastic, even though the Fantastic works really well with the theme. I do have some foam squares here, some larger foam squares, because I'm going to give a little bit of texture to this. And I have gone ahead and cut my border from the shimmer cardstock, or the shimmer paper, the clear shimmer paper, mounted that onto the blue, and I used my wavy blade to cut a 2-inch strip to give that a little border. Or I'm sorry, not a 2-inch strip. This is an 1 3/4 inch strip on that one. Now I am just going to add some adhesive to the back here. And note that the shimmer paper, sometimes you have to do some extra adhesive on that because it does like to repel some of the adhesive. So I'm just placing this down in the center, and this is a scrap. You can see how I am utilizing that. It's actually larger than the card base, but I'm just going to go ahead and add adhesive to the top edge. And this I'm going to place it about 1 inch, no, 3/4 of an inch It's about an inch. I'm using my mat here as my guide here. An inch. And boy, working on a mat like this, when you don't have lines or graph on your piece of paper to mark your placement, it really is helpful, I find, for me anyway, to utilize a mat that has the graph on it, and that helps me keep things straight. So I've extended this beyond, and I'm just going to take my scissors and trim this off, and perhaps I can use this scrap then for something else. So there's my basic card. Now you're probably wondering, wait a minute, how do you use this punch? Well, I have another demo on how to use the punches, but if you have questions, reach out and I'll send you that link. But these are very easy to operate. They have the lock on the back that releases. You have the bar on the bottom here with the pattern clearly on it that makes it easy to match as you're sliding through. And then you have the start and stop markings here. So when you're first starting with your piece of paper, you're going to line the edge up with the design or with the notch to the left and make that punch as it's lined up, and then slide this through until, I think you can see that here, it's a little bit of a glow, there we go, slide that through to the left until the cutout portion matches the pattern underneath it. And you keep doing that as you punch and move and punch and move. And again, this punch, this shape cuts both the top and the bottom, so you're going to get this exact border as you see it. And you can see that it's represented here. This portion will be trimmed off. This portion will be trimmed off, and all of them, the little shark pieces and those thin borders, will be underneath as you finish punching through, sliding through. So I did that on the shimmer paper, and that just gives it a little bit of an extra glow. All right, so we've added this, and all I'm going to do is, I think my thank you just needs a little bit of a trim here. I'm not being very precise about it, but instead of doing it up across the top here, I'm just going to do it on the bottom. I have some foam square greeting because it's going to overlap the edge right there, and we're just going to allow that to pop. Now I could make this stand out a little bit more by adding cardstock to it and, you know, making it really stand out, but I'm gonna stick with it this way and keep this card simple, just so you know how easy it is. Now, why would you want to say thank you with a shark border? You know, that might not be a good match, but depending on what the greeting is inside the card, it might be perfect. You know, maybe you're going to stack or stamp fantastic. Maybe you're going to put a keep on swimming message, which is one we're going to use. Something that relates to sharks and water. Hello, chum. There are a lot of sets out there that work, and you can virtually do any message with any of the alpha stamps, alpha 1, 2, 3 number stamps, or by printing a message. All of those will work. But I just wanted to share that you could use whatever greeting you wanted, substitute it as necessary or as you feel the need, and just a little bit of a variation on this card showing you different placement and basic simple card. So that is our first one. Now the next one we're going to get a little bit more detailed, and with this one I need to share that we are using a mini slimline card. I have my Just Keep Swimming image stamped already. It's backed and ready to go. But this card and the third one, which I don't have finished here, is more about creating a background, using the papers and things that you have or the tools that you have to create a background and create a card. So the background with this one, I've used the Memento ink and my blending brush and created a stencil using the border punch, which I'm going to show you how to do. This one, which is the next card that we'll create, I've used the punched pieces from the borders that I've created. And remember, this is the thing that will be used. This is a piece that we'll be using as our stencil, as our mask basically. But these are the shapes then that we're going to use to create the background on this one. So this is a mini slimline card and my base mat, and it works on your standard A2 card, any size that you want. This one will fit in a note card envelope if you have those on hand. And my mat is 3 1/4 by 5 3/4 inches. And all we do, and I need to also say that I use the shimmer paper because we're going to use the Memento and the ink brush, or my blending brush, to create a little bit of a darker background, to shade that background. I think you can see it here. You can see the glow on the shapes, but can you pick up the light blue background? Here, I wanted it to seem like water, but I wanted it to be very faint. And the cardstock wasn't doing it for me. To put all of these little shapes onto the back of, or onto a light blue cardstock was too, it wasn't working for me. So we're just going to start with some temporary adhesive, and with the shimmer paper, I found that using a wet adhesive wasn't, the shimmer paper was just too thin to hold it down. I couldn't get a good gauge on it. So I was getting too much and it was buckling, and that's why I'm using the repositionable adhesive. So you can place these any way you want. You can use my placement here as a guide if you like. I am just placing them wherever I see fit, whatever works for me. And that's the best that I can tell you. I think, I know I've talked with several of you, and this might not be a technique that you enjoy necessarily, but I have done this with a few different shape punches and have found it to be a great way to use the random pieces that are left after you punch out so many different borders and such. So we're going to adhere these, and I should have started this so that it was more in progress, but you can see it goes relatively quickly. We're just adding this down to create a background. It's really, get those scraps out of the way. Filling in, I like to not let them touch, but I do like to have them be close. I'm one of those proportionate persons where formal balance is important, and therefore keeping things kind of proportionate is good for me. So if they're semi-even or close in range, I like that. It's not that I'm measuring between each shark that I'm putting down here or each piece that I'm putting down here, but I'm trying to position them so that they are, you know, in close proximity. The other thing I'll tell you, and you probably can see on some of these, the edges are, they're overlapping. I'm just going to come through and trim those off, and then case in point, we'll just use this tail right here and add it. Need a little bit more adhesive, and I like the repositionable adhesive because it allows you to place some down, and then I just come back in through with my fingers and it peels off, doing that little bit of a just rubbing it with my finger. You can do the distress tool, or the not the distress tool, don't mind me. Alright, we're going to slide this way. Just fill in those gaps. Alright, and without doing the entire card, because I don't want to take up too much time here, we're going to swirl this one here, and I'm using them, just a little thought here, I am using these in different directions than what they appear on the punch, so don't be afraid to turn them upside down. With the shimmer paper, it works either way, and that works. Just make sure they're the jaws are in the right direction. And another trick, and then I'll come back not to take up so much time. Another way that you can do this quite simply is to, we'll just show you here. So here are the small sharks, and maybe I just want to line them up, do a diagonal, start a pattern this way, and then come back and fill in with the other pieces. And it looks like I am out of the longer sharks, so I am going to use what I have here to fill this in, which is kind of disappointing. I thought I'd cut enough extras to have, but that's all right. We'll make do. It will be different. The shimmer paper acts as a little bit of a resist on here as well. It will resist the ink, the Memento ink that I'm going to use, and that means that the color, it's not going to absorb the color of the ink, whereas if I put cardstock, and maybe I'll just put a piece of cardstock down here so that you can see. Let's just put one of these white cardstock sharks, the long ones, down, and you'll be able to see what the resist does. Alright, we're almost set here. That's also very difficult to see on the white background, although we've done a lot of cards that way. You'll know exactly what or why. And you could use again, this is the CM shimmer paper that I'm using, but you can use any resist paper, any shimmer paper, other brands that you might have. I just happen to have the CM. This is a tail that I cut off from one of the other cards. I'm going to line up the straight edge and just add it on the edge to fill in that little area. And we're almost done here. Here I am saying I'm not going to go the whole way to the end, but we're here, and that's all right. Add this one up on top here, and maybe another hammerhead. It really is a fun punch to play with and to celebrate Shark Week. So I have my outside edges. You can see they're extended beyond. I'm just going to trim this off. And then I have my Memento ink. And I know there were some changes in some, depending on which version of the advisor join box or advisor vote box, vote box you got, you may have a different color memento, but this is nautical blue, which is perfect for this particular project. It works great. I'm just going to slide these in here so they don't fly everywhere. And the next step is pretty easy. And we're going to, I'm just going to get a piece of cardstock here underneath so that you can see the color change, hopefully. Actually, I'm going to use an index card instead of that white cardstock. Any scrap paper that you have will do. This is really just for me to share with you so that you can see. So you can see my brush, even though this color is there, I have cleaned this just using a wipe, but I'm going to get a very small amount. And now we're going to start off the card and swirl on. And there are lots of different techniques this way. We really are just trying to get the background to be a little bit more blue. And you can see the cardstock shark that we got up there, that we placed up at the top here, is absorbing some of that blue ink from the memento, where the others are not. They're getting it around the outside edge. And I'm sorry if my camera is moving a little bit, but that's really all the ink that I need. I do not want a dark background. I just wanted a little bit more blue. And you can see that showing just as we apply a little bit of pressure. And that's all we need. So to finish this card, then we're going to put some foam squares, whatever version you are using. If you have the circles or any of the variety packs that we've had, whatever you are using. And I mean, there's so many different ways that you can decorate this up, but I am keeping it very simple. Again, you can make the greeting change if you want. If you want it to be Shark Week related, there are a lot of different stamp sets out there to do so. Or print that off on your computer and you're good to go. This is a great message because we all feel that need sometimes, you know, to just keep swimming. If you would like, I put a shark on top here, use a pop dot, but I'm not going to do it on this one. I'm just going to leave it as is. The other thing I need to check is whether or not I want to put the blue background on the back of the card here. And I don't think I'm going to do it for this one, just so you can see the difference with the foundation being highlighted and with it not being highlighted. So there is that card, and so far what we've got right now, those two cards. So let's go to our background, our final version, and where we use the punch, the border that we've created. This is kind of like the negative of the punch, or of the border that we've created with the punch. So again, this is with shimmer paper that I have here, but it doesn't really matter. Cardstock is going to absorb the ink, but we're not really here to color the cardstock. We're here just to use this as a mask. So it's just a regular border that we've cut out. And I'm using the actual card base. So I'm going to fold this. This is an A2 card. Any card base you would, any size that you would like, feel free to use. If this is the first time doing this technique, I would highly suggest that you do a piece of scrap paper and just test it out. The other thing, and let me see here. The other thing is that I would suggest is making yourself a border holder like this, so that you prevent yourself, or you prevent getting these little lines, the wavy lines. Now, that sometimes you want that, and I don't mind it. But if you're creating a background and you just want the sharks all over so that it's very similar to this one, then you really don't need the lines coming across them. And to do that, you just, again, I literally cut index card in half and ran adhesive down this edge, or down one edge, right here, making sure that you're not covering up any of the openings, and then the other side over here on another piece of index card or scrap paper that you have. Really easy to do. And again, the goal to do this, or the reason to do that, is to just eliminate the waves through here. So it's more of an all over pattern here. All right, let's take a look at this and we'll get started. Now this one, again, I'm going to try to do this folded in half. So I'm going to use my bone folder to really crease this card. And I'm going to gauge where the top of my card is. You'll notice here the fish are coming, or the shark are coming off the card, and that's all right. We're going to move this back and forth. In fact, you can start off the card if you want. Either way, doesn't matter. I have the index card underneath here. We're going to load our brush up with ink. And to clean the brush, I just use a baby wipe. But we're going to start again. Not much pressure, because I don't want this one really dark. If you want it darker, add more pressure, add more ink. There's my first run. And now I'm going to come down again, and this time I'm going to move my stencil, or my mask, further to the left. And I am coming down from the top about 1/4 of an inch, and that's using the top edge of my border. You'll have to gauge that with the border that you create, and use that to estimate the distance that you need to go for each one. Now we're going to come down a little bit further. Now I'm at about 1 1/4 inches, and I'm going to come to the right a little bit. Again, just to create a little bit of variety. I'm going to come up just a little bit more. I should be using my mat as my guide, and I'm not, but that's all right. Fish don't swim in a straight row. Sharks don't swim in a straight row. Ah, got some extra ink there. That's all right. We'll cover it up. You can see the variety coming along here. And I'm going to come back over this way a little bit further. Just making sure that I see no fins coming through. circular motion should prevent the streaks. I'm getting some streaks, but there we are. And then last one down to the bottom. I'm just going to line this up. I think we're good. And that's how we create another background using the stencil. So we can use the punch to create shapes to use as a background or as embellishments that we can turn into stickers and so on. We can use it as a border to create a card or create a border for a page layout. We can use it as a mask to create these fun cards. And so many options with just one little punch. So let's take a look, and lots of options again on this one that you can do as far as adding layers, adding stickers, so many additional ways to embellish it, but I am keeping it very simple. I'm going to use the Just Keep Swimming stamp again, and I'm just, or phrase, greeting again. I'm just trimming it up a little bit and keeping it very, very easy. And then with these, with greetings like this, I'd like to do a handwritten message on the inside, but that's completely up to you. And you can add it just like this, or we can add a background as we did to the others. Trim that off. And this will then cover up some of these marks that I made. Not that I'm really worried about that, but just know that if you do that, if you do as I did, you don't need to worry about it. You can cover it up with the embellishments. Use some of the pieces that are punched out, the shape pieces that are punched out, you know, and add them on. That all works as well. But I'm just keeping this really simple. So I'd love to know your thoughts. I did hear when this punch first came out, there were a lot of people that were wondering what they would do, how they would use it. So I'm curious to know. Hopefully this gives you some ideas for your cards, but this is what we've got so far. Let's take care of this. Alright, so we have our borders using the shark punch. We have our backgrounds using the shapes cut from the punch. And then we use it as a mask with our advisor vote box. So hope that gives you some ideas for different cards using the shark punch. And we'll hope you have a great shark week as well. Thanks for joining us.